Bruna! I'm going to the off-beaten path to the country of Moldova to visit many of its historical landmarks and architectures, learn about its culture and history, as well as trying to sneak into a self-declared breakaway puppet state of Transnistria and surviving a real KGB arrest and interrogation. Not to forget, getting around easily and checking out some great food and toasting it with the Moldova's famous wine. DIY travel Chișinău and Tiraspol, and you are invited. The former Soviet Republic of Moldova is a landlocked country in Eastern Europe. Its independence was declared during the dissolution of the Soviet Union on August of 1991, and its constitution was adopted in 1994. The narrow strip of land between Dniester River and Ukrainian border are under the de facto control of the breakaway government of Transnistria since 1990. Despite being the poorest country in Europe, faced by political instability, economic decline, this nation has been making progress in reducing the percentage of its people living below poverty. That's why I'm here, to support its people through tourism, to showcase its culture, history, and of course, its most important export, the wine. Founded in 1436 as a monastery village, Chișinău is the capital and the largest city in Moldova, with a population of 700,000, and as well the main industrial and commercial center, comprising about 40% of the national economy. And this is where we begin our exploration. I began my journey from Odessa's bus station. The fare costs about 220 Ukrainian hryvnias, or about $8, and the ride takes about 3 to 4 hours depending on the route. Most likely, you'll pass by Transnistria's border control and given a temporary 24-hour transit paper visa. There is daily trains from the neighboring Eastern European countries, and frequent scheduled flights from Western European cities to Chisinau Airport. Both airport buses and minibuses are available every 10 minutes to take you to the city center.
Welcome to Area Hotel Chișinău. Please come in.
I'd like to thank my accommodation sponsor, Area Hotel, for providing me with an extremely comfortable stay. They offer both luxury rooms for a group of all sizes at an affordable price, with in-house breakfast and restaurant, and only 10 minutes away from the city center and bus right in front of the entrance. But my favorite, it's amazing and helpful staff. There's even an on-site money exchange that offers Moldovan lei at a great rate. However, I recommend you find a fee-free ATM to withdraw only enough for what you need. About $50 or 850 leads per day. The first attraction is only a walking distance away, about 2 kilometers, not so bad. It's Chișinău's largest and one of the most important and stunning parks, the Dendrarium Park. So this is Park Dendrarium here in Chișinău, and it's one of the best well-known and best maintained parks here in the city. Now, even though it's winter time right now, it's still very beautiful, the park here. There is a little admission fee to come in here, but it's not much. Worked out to be about 25 cents for adults and a few pennies for children. Opened in 1973 with a collection of more than 1,000 types of trees and rare species of wood, but it's famous for being home to stunning roses of Chișinău during the summer. It is not surprising many of the city's residents have their first kiss here, and being the #1 choice for wedding photos. Dendrarium is taken under the protection of the state as a monument of the architecture, having a unique landscape and scientific importance at the same time. If you come in the summer, you also can enjoy the park's many amenities like lakes with ducks and ponds with lilies, benches to sit on and people watching, big fields for flying kites, and playing balls, and a little forest for a romantic walkthrough. So bring a date. If you're single, you might end up meeting your future significant others here. So good luck. So we are heading off to the Jewish cemetery right now. It was recommended online that is one of the most spectacular in Eastern Europe. Just a few minutes on foot, you'd enter one of the ravaged and long-neglected national monuments, the largest Jewish cemetery in Europe. Prior to World War II, the 1930s marked the peak of Jewish life in Moldova. They had been granted citizenship in 1918 when Romania took over this region, and there were numerous Jewish schools and hospitals in the city. Unfortunately, after 1941, around 147,000 Jewish Moldovans were deported to the concentration camps, with staggering 90,000 perished. By the end of the 19th century, there were around 25,000 graves at the cemetery, but it all fell into disrepair after World War II, with many of the structures being destroyed by bombing. Today, much of it is covered by thick vegetation, and a number of the graves doesn't seem to have been visited for decades. Right now, I'm on actual bus, and it costs only 2 lees, which is roughly about like 12-13 cents. So I'm heading towards the main part of the city right now. Most of the attraction in Chișinău is located on the main street, Stefan the Great Boulevard. But if you don't want to walk, the bus route number 22 will take you to all the attractions here, and it operates really late. Our first stop is only 10 minutes away. You'll reach the center of the political power, the seat of the Parliament of Moldova. The building was formerly the meeting place of the Central Committee of the Moldovan branch of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and was built between 1976 and 1979. Less than 700 meters away is the location of the Great National Assembly Square, formerly known as the Victory Square, surrounded by many important buildings. Most notable is my condo, the government house. The 6-story reinforced concrete structure was designed by Sigmund Freud in 1964, lined with white stone, made in the shape of a Russian letter P. Today it serves as the administrative building for the Prime Minister and his cabinet to conduct government business. To the opposite side of the Grand National Assembly Square situates the Triumphal Arch, or the Holy Gate. Its history began in the first half of the 19th century when the Chisinau governor Vorontsov appeared to Tsar with a request to cast a bell for the cathedral of the city. The weight of the largest one reaches 400 pounds and the smallest just 25. Unfortunately, when the bell was delivered to Chișinău, the size of the largest bell didn't allow it to be placed in the cathedral tower. Eventually, the authority decided to build an arch that will become not only the house for the bell, but also one of the main decorations of the city. The building was finished in 1839 by the architect Ivan Zurkevich. The Triumphal Arch in Chișinău was decided to raise in the honor of the victory of Russian troops over Turkish army in the War of 1806 to 1812. If you're ready to confess your sins, good news, because the Cathedral of Christ's Nativity is just a stone throw away. This is the main cathedral of metropolitans of Chișinău and all Moldova, and also referred to as the Moldova Orthodox Church. It's a self-governing metropolitan under the Russian Orthodox Church. It is believed that Orthodox Christianity was first brought to Moldova by Apocalypse Andrew. The 14th century Orthodox Church established in Principality of Moldova includes the present-day northeastern Romania, Moldova, and southwestern Ukraine, under the authority of Metropolitan of Galicia. In 1812, the eastern half of Moldova was annexed and renamed Bessarabia by the Russian Empire, which placed the Orthodox churches in this territory under the jurisdiction of the Russian Orthodox Church. A year after independence from the Soviet Union, the Russian Orthodox Church granted autonomy to its jurisdiction in this new country and raised the rank of archdiocese the metropolitans of Chișinău and all Moldova. Now, this is basically most of the attraction in this main boulevard. However, if you need more idea, the tourist center is right around the corner. After all day of walking, I decided it's time for me to rest and have some food. I asked the hotel owner where I can grab some local food. They recommended this place called Andy's Pizza or Andy's Food Market. Some of them was called. It's all over the place. This is one of them which I will try out. It's basically the chicken soup served inside gutted bread. And what I'm also going to have is a local wine. And it's very inexpensive. It's roughly $2.25 for 500 milliliters. So, which I think is quite a deal, and I haven't had wine almost like 3 weeks. With that being said, let's eat. It's really hard to hold a camera and do this. It's very creamy. And this will set you back only about $3 or so, so it's not so bad. It's really not so bad. Pretty fruity. I think it's really fruity. It's actually pretty decent. It's I can taste the fruit texture and also some sweetness. However, if you're willing to pay for American price or more, or impress your hot dates, or just want to get authentic Moldovan culinary experience, or all of the above, this is a very interesting restaurant and also serve as a free folklore museum. Given I like to eat, let's get started with the food. So this is a very interesting museum. It's dedicated to Moldovan food. I can see bread, I can see fruits and vegetables, and the most interesting thing is the meat. Those meat up there has been curing for 23 years. That's crazy, but I think it's still eatable. It's a Moldovan wine that's been aging for 5 years. A romantic date is so incomplete without a glass of wine. In fact, Moldova is famous around the world for its quality, and the wine is one of the most important exports. If you like wine, you're gonna love this room. All these are Moldovan wine. It's actually fermented right here, locally. My favorite is very vintage, which is this one right here. This is from 1964. So for those of you who's interested in Moldovan textiles, this is also a place you can check out. This room has all the different fabrics, and also there's a crib. It shows how babies dress here, and as well as a sewing machine that basically show you how the fabrics are put together. With that being said, let's go and take a look. Oh my. Please? The museum has an extensive collection of cultural artifacts to show the traditional Moldovan way of life in the 18th to the 20th century, including a fully furnished room with dining utensils, household decorations, furniture, and even this classical record. It still works! Oh my god, that's cool! Today we are going to a breakaway region of the country, and it's called Transnistria. And the journey starts with bus 22 again. So we're going to Central Station. From Central Station we're taking a bus directly there. The journey takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So, with that being said, let's hope we have a fast and smooth ride. And no, I did not succeed in finding a sugar mommy to pay for my dinner last night, but Chișinău's Central Market is located right beside the bus terminal, and I am not going to give up on a good meal on a budget, just in case I get arrested by the KGBs or something in, cuckoo land. This is a huge open air market that occupies several blocks. There's no way you won't notice it while you're walking through the city. From fresh fruits and vegetables, dry nuts, raw honeys, fish, meat, bread, brandy to clothing and household items, you'll find absolutely everything you need. Most products are local and the price are negotiable, so don't forget to bargain, and bargain hard. So within the market you can find many places like this where you can eat for relatively inexpensive. This is my breakfast / lunch today, a piece of chicken, soup, and a salad. It costs roughly about $3.75, $4. With that being said, let's eat. Alright, so first, let's check out the soup. I didn't really want the bread today, so I didn't ask for bread, but bread's free of charge. Very light. It's very nice, actually. You can just taste that they don't have MSG or anything like that in it. Next, piece of chicken. I think I can tell it's not farm because farm chicken doesn't have much flavor. I mean, in my opinion, at least. That's what I think about KFC. I don't know what that is, but I think it's ketchup. No. It's okay. There's lots of food already. After filling up, it's time to get going. There is frequent minibuses destined for the capital of Transnistria, Tiraspol, every 20 minutes from 6:30 in the morning to 5 p.m. The tickets are very easy to get. You can get at the official counter and it costs 37 lei and you get a receipt. Do not buy the ticket directly from the driver or people on the bus stand because they can overcharge you. The average journey takes about 2 hours provided the border guard don't feel like slowing you down. The ticket costs approximately 35 to 40 leads or $2. Oh yeah, please bring your passport and don't say anything stupid to the guard at the border control. I was actually arrested for the filming at the border and ending up getting interrogated by the Russian KGB for 4 hours. Yes, the Russians. So beware and preferably don't bring any serious looking filming equipment. Sadly, the footage I shot at the border are seized. Assume everything's fine. You'll be given a temporary admission valid for 24 hours. After being released, I decided to continue on my journey. I have big balls. First on the list is only 10 minutes away from the immigration post, the Turkish-built Bendery Fortress. Now after all that trouble, we finally got into the Bendery Fortress. It's actually very nice right here. The bus actually stops right about 100 meters away from the ticket office, and you buy your tickets in Moldovan lies or you can buy in the Transnistrian rubles. And then once you do that, you have to walk through a abandoned factory to get to this very nice fortress. This is actually founded in 1538 and is one of the oldest Ottoman fortress that's still in the present shape today. The fortress was named after the location of its town, but was known in the Middle Ages in Romania as Tahina, and later as Bender in Ottoman sources. The citadel is considered the true evidence of the former power of the Ottoman Empire. First built in 1538 by a Turkish architect called Chisinau, it happened right after the unification of Moldovan Principality in the territory of the Ottoman Empire. Its ancient walls survived siege, fire, storm, and countless reconstructions. Being the military heritage of the country, it passed from hands of one military power to another dozens of times, including when fortress was inaccessible for 200 years when Russian army occupied it until 1770. The fortress was made in compliance with the Western European style and represent a bastion. The territory of the citadel takes up 67 hectares. Its wall rises to almost 5 meters with a width of 6 meters. Inside some of the towers, you'll find artisans, Jansians, and gunsmiths once lived. So this is the top of the fortress watchtower up here. You can see the whole fortress right here. It's pretty nice vantage point. The only thing is, I have to say, if you want to come up, make sure you wear a nice boot so you won't slip and fall. I did it with a running shoes today. Not a great idea because it's very muddy on the what's called stairs of the fortress. With that being said, it's a pretty decent place. And let's go back down and see their museum. The fortress complex also includes 2 great historical museums, one of which is the medieval instrument of torture, which include various ancient torture tools used in this very citadel, including during both Ottoman eras and during Russian occupations. This is definitely not suitable for children. The second museum is a museum of history of Bendery strongholds, showcasing a unique collection of firearms and tablets with portraits of important figures connected to the history of the fortress. The cost of your tickets include access to this museum. It has quite a lot of interesting artifacts such as the guns and different medals and so on, and also a recreation of the battle that took place here. It's very, very interesting and definitely should come and check out, but don't be surprised, there's always someone watching you here. There's also a church standing nearby the fortress, the Church of Alexander Nevsky, where all the evil people should come and pray for their sins and forgiveness, like this guy, and this guy, maybe this guy, definitely this guy, maybe her as well. Actually, she's pretty hot, probably not, but the rest of them probably going to end up in hell. Just joking. Anyways, the military church of Alexander Nevsky in the Bendery Fortress is not only the oldest religious building in Bendery, but also one of the oldest in the entire territory of Transnistria. The first Orthodox church on the site of the fortress was hastily converted from a Turkish mosque after a successive capture of the fortress by the Russian troops in 1791. However, in accordance to the Treaty of Jazi in 1791, the Bendery Fortress was returned to Turkey and all the mosques converted into Orthodox churches regained their status as a Muslim religious site. During the Romanian and fascist occupation of 1941 to 1944, in which Romanians completely looted and stolen priceless holy objects, in 1947, the military authority turned it into the Soldiers Club until 1994, when the Russian military missile unit was withdrawn. The building was abandoned until 2008, when it was transferred to the Transnistrian Authority for reconstruction. Honestly, this is the most freaky and eerie place I've ever been to. I'm surrounded with these slogans, Soviet-era posters and so on. There's a frequent bus route number 19, as well as mini buses nearby to take you directly to the city center of Tiraspol. You can buy the tickets directly from the driver, and the journey takes about only 15 minutes. Located on the northern and eastern bank of Dniester River, Tiraspol is the second largest city in Moldova with a population of 135,000 and the capital of self-declared Russian puppet state of Pridnestrovian Moldovan Republic, or simply as Transnistria. And Bart, you are in heaven if you want to go back in time to the Stalin era. Also, pretty much everything to see is accessible on foot and located on the long stretch of October 25th Street. So, let's get started. First, the Russian Parliament, the Transnistrian Parliament House, the Supreme Council of Pridnestrovian Moldovan Republic to be exact. And finally, after all that hassle, I finally made it here to Tiraspol, and I'm literally standing in the city center. Behind me is a Soviet-era tank on display, and this is actually a memorial right here. This is actually a really strange place. Literally, walking back in time, seeing the Soviet-era emblems and Russian flags, and it's a bit freaky, I have to admit. Across the street is home to the Memorial Glory to commemorate the veteran and the dead of the Great Patriotic War, the Soviet-Afghan War, and the Transnistria War. In the 1920s, a square was located on this site where the commissioner of the cavalry brigade Gregory Toski was buried, who was killed during the Russian Civil War after the liberation of Tiraspol. The T-34 tank erected at the memorial was transported from Hungary in April 1945. This was one of the tanks used in World War II, when the 121st Tank Brigade assisted the 62nd Army during the battle. There was also a capsule underneath the tank with soils from the city of Volgograd. An infernal flame at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier lit the participants of the last sea Chisinau operation, along with a memorial plaque with the inscription of 900 names of the deceased soldier. In 2011, a small chapel was built and consecrated on this very memorial square and was given the name Chapel of the St. George the Victorious.
Look like these are really popular those days, and I don't know if I can say I love this place, but it's definitely interesting and a bit weird.
On the way to the next attraction, you'll pass by the Suvorov Square, the city's main square named after the founder of Tiraspol.
So I asked one of the restaurants if I can pay in Moldovan lei, and they say no.
By the way, your gold visa is no good here, as very few places accept credit cards, and ATM are even rarer than living dinosaurs. They use their own phony currency. I decided to pay its phony central bank a visit. Sadly, despite ringing the bell multiple times, no one answered. I don't think I brought enough foreign reserve for them to take me seriously. So I headed for one of the smaller banks. I just converted some money to their local rubles here. Here's one advice. Convert probably 10 bucks. That's it. That's all you need. And you can take home as a souvenir. Their currency are absolutely useless once you get out of this region. So there's not much you can do with it. The Soviet banknote was used before the collapse of USSR. When other Soviet republics began issuing their own currencies, Transnistria was flooded with Soviet rubles. In July of 1993, Transnistrian government bought the used Goznet printed Soviet and Russian notes dated 1961 to 1992, which it modified by applying an adhesive stamp bearing the images of founder of Tiraspol. These phony rubles are divided to 100 kopecks, and even more interesting is they are the world's only issue of plastic coins in actual circulations. Now, if you wonder how I spent up my money, here it is. The world's worst tasting kebabs. I'm not kidding. Just like Chișinău, everything in Tiraspol closed early, and just a friendly reminder, the last bus back is 7 p.m. But on the way to the bus station, you'll encounter a few more notable landmarks on October 25th Street, including the City Hall. Formerly the House of Soviet, it is considered the most attractive building in Tiraspol and still features the statue of Lenin proudly displayed in front of the building, and bedecked with a star at the appendix, like many other Soviet buildings from these times. To reach the bus station, you'll need to make a left turn on Lenin Street, where you also see the Kievan Distillery, one of the biggest exporters in Transnistria, and famous for wine and cognac. If you come early, tasting is available from $10 to $70.
Postcards tour in Novoland.
If you still have some change left after paying for your fare, consider buying some locally made souvenirs or craft, or join a free walking tour just like the one offered by this guy, and make sure to tip them well. Another great way to support the real local people in this fake country.
Postcards.
It was really late. Once again, a friendly reminder to everyone to eat early, or else get ready to pay up, this time at the McDonald's.
Shamefully, I'm eating here in McDonald's, not because I want to eat in McDonald's. I mean, I didn't come all the way to Moldova to taste McDonald's. No, I can do it at home. But when I came back from Transnistria, it's after 7 and all the restaurants except for Andy's Pizza are closed. So I have no option except to eat here. And this is, by the way, the main street. But with that being said, I'm going to show you what I'm going to have here in McDonald's. Moldova. Grilled chicken sandwich. Overpriced and it tastes like garbage. It's dry, it doesn't have any flavoring, it tastes like rubber. However, the fries does taste like curry. The Fanta just tastes like Fanta. Well, that being said, I'm going to finish up my food and head back to the hotel and have a restful night.
Next morning, I couldn't resist celebrating the surviving of Transnistria. I'm going to do this by visiting Moldova's very own nuclear bunker. In fact, it's over 120 kilometers long. But there's no nuclear warhead, just really good wine, Moldovan wine. Yes, we are going on a wine tour located about 15 kilometers away from the city center. It's pretty easy to get here by bus, but I recommend you use a taxi to get here as the tour starts exactly at 9 a.m.
So right now I'm in Cricova wine cellar and it's so big that we have to take either a bus down or luckily we have a VIP and I'm actually with our tour guide, Elena. Thank you very much for helping me and look at this. We are entering. We are already in underground city as you mentioned. So the construction began, or the digging began in this underground city in the 15th century. They started using it as the wine cellar, bringing the wines in at the end of the World War II in 1947, but officially it was opened in 1952.
Moldova has a well-established wine industry with a vineyard area at 150,000 hectares. The country produced around 2 million hectoliters of wine in 2018 and 60,000 million bottles of wine are exported annually, making it 11th largest European wine-producing country. I think that's enough for you to get seriously drunk. I mean, celebrate your survival with your friends. Cricova is the second largest wine cellar in Moldova, after Mielnichi, which holds the title of being the largest in the world. Its story began in 1952, when there was a shortage of facilities for storage and aging of wines in Moldova. Two of their famous winemakers suggested to use a gallery resulting from the building stones extraction as a warehouse for the storage of the wine, leading to the construction of this 120 kilometers long underground cellar. And here is another reason.
So one of the interesting things about the cellar is, regardless it's winter or the summer or whichever season, the temperature has always been kept between 12 to 14 degrees. Humidity has to be kept between 90 to 95%.
Next comes my favorite part, to sample the wine. The sampling room is located inside a theater, so you know a good dose of propaganda is coming.
So this is a really interesting underground cinema right inside the wine cellar. As you can see, they cannot make me popcorn, but they can serve me a glass of very famous Moldovan sparkling wine. So with that being said, no luck.
In the Roman Empire, during the rule of Stefan cel Mare, there were many Eucharist. The fermentation high-tech promoter is a history and culture archive.
In this section of Remouage work only 6 ladies that turn the bottles. Each of them can rotate per day 35,000 bottles. The whole section of Remouage is 4 kilometers long.
Down there's 4 kilometers.
Yeah, and a lot of it like this. In the same one we sell, we change just the cork. Okay, but first,
The tour also showcased its production facilities, walk through on how the wine is produced here and the process is used. One of the type produced is the sparkling wine in accordance with a classical French method, purportedly invented centuries ago by a monk, Dom Pure Pignon, referred to as Method Champagnaise, but sadly it can't be called champagne.
get to this machine through this part.
So exactly 52 centimeters. So this is the sparkling wine batch. As you can see, it goes on forever. However, they cannot call it champagne, despite it uses the same metal champenoise. Excuse my pronunciation, because it's not produced in the French region Champagne.
If your parents don't like you to learn how they bootleg their booze, then don't come to the next part of the tour. This part showcases many of the tools and techniques used throughout the millennia for winemaking.
There's also a museum here in the cellar, and my favorite is this lovely invention. This is from the 3rd century BC. It's a first grape press. So you put the grapes inside here, it press it, and voila.
We're supporting everything, not just the wine, even the people.
That's the medal of the
Yes,
state.
for the Cricova Winery. International guest with sparkling.
The tour continues with a show-off of some of their flagship and award-winning wines. Actually, if you got some extra cash and don't know how to spend it, don't worry, I got you covered. You come to the right place. I have no clue both men and wine are more prized as they come with age. This one is 120 years old.
Want to check something? You just have to put his number in the database.
Okay, so for those of you who have extra money to spend, this is the right place to come to. This is where they age the wine. In other words, it's where the bottles become a little bit more expensive. Actually, no, a lot more expensive.
Second is Chardonnay, Sauvignon, and all this. Just with them.
Is this a state secret?
Yes, because even we are not allowed to
No, what
to
kind of
know.
wine?
Yes. Collection.
They like wine a lot.
In the same room, you're able to find a lot of unlabeled wine belonging to some really cool kids, like Germany's Angela Merkov, or our very own friend John Kerry from the good old USA, or the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin.
The wine here not only belongs to Cricova, but also people rent space over here to store their own wine. It's supposed to be only the wine from the cellar. However, they do have collection from different individuals, historical, and one of them is from the Hitler's right-hand man, Hermann Göring. And these actually brought over from Germany. It was confiscated by the Red Army. They drank most of them, but they're still, by miracle, there's still some left. They brought it here as historical artifacts.
Finally, we get to check out some really cool staterooms where the rich and the famous get drunk. It's invite only. But I'm pretty sure it won't be a problem if you manage to get yourself into space. Like this guy, Yuri Gagarin, the first human to journey into the outer space. The legend has it that he entered the cellar, got lost, and re-emerged 2 days later.
So there's a lot of tasting rooms in the cellar, and this is probably my favorite one. This one is covered by limestone up in the ceiling. The reason for that is Moldova used to be covered by the sea 10 to 15 million years ago.
My guy also revealed that dictator Russian President Putin also celebrated his 50th birthday in the cellar. She won't tell me which room, but I have a feeling this one, decorated in a traditional Moldovan style.
I love this camera. It's one of the best.
It's called Chișinău because of fireplace.
Finally, it is also said that German Chancellor Angela Merkel spent more time at Cricova than rest of the Moldovan combined. I won't be surprised if she celebrates her retirement in this cellar. I think this room will be very suitable for her 1.4 million Instagram followers. I hope I get invited. Seriously. The last part of the tour is obviously a little upselling with some deals on wines. There's a little gift shop offering different varieties of wines that you can take home. So get your credit card ready because some of them on display cost as much as $500. No joke. But this is my favorite one.
Wow. So for those of you who's really like to indulge, you don't need to be rich if you come here to indulge in a golden wine. You see these? That is flakes of gold. So the golden wine do exist. Bye-bye.
After spending all my money on booze, I have no choice but to get back home on a budget.
I'm here by taxi because I didn't want to be late. The tour starts exactly at 9. I'm going back, I got a little bit more time. I'll show you how to do it the public transportation way, the cheap way, aka. We are coming by bus. This is where the driver can drop you off, right in front of the convenience store. This is the bus stop right here. It's also where you can take our bus back to Chișinău. And as you can see, everyone's waiting for the same bus. The cost is only 5 li, or 35 cents or so. And with that being said, I hope our ride comes soon, and it's gonna be fast and smooth ride.
After getting back, I rested for the remainder of the day until the dinner time.
So typically I do not drink while I'm on assignment, but today is an exception because it's my last day here in Moldova, and this is the local beer. And with that being said, I'm gonna celebrate to the successful filming of Moldova. Wow. But to go along with it, I also have a soup. Big piece of chickens right here. I'm not too sure what kind of soup it is, but it's a sour version of the chicken soup. It tastes pretty interesting, and there is red pepper inside there, and there's pieces of chicken and tomatoes. So next is Moldovan kebab right here. I've been eating a lot of kebab lately, so it's time to eat. With that being said, let's take our first bite. I love when there's potato inside here. It's really crispy. It tastes like bacon actually.
Although everything closed early in Chișinău, the flowers market open 24 hours a day. Even better, you will find every type of flowers imaginable here. So for all my single fans out there, do yourself a favor. Find a nice Moldovan lady and sweeten her up with a nice colorful flower. And good luck.
So this is how I end my Moldovan journey, by going to the central station and taking a bus to Romania. With that being said, I hope this will be a fast ride and our bus will not be late.
If you are flying out, there is a bus and minibus from 6 AM to 11 PM, but I'm heading to Romania. There's frequent day and night buses from Central Station departing for Bucharest. There's also bus connections to other parts of Romania, as well as cities in Italy, Poland, and Bulgaria from Chișinău Stelden bus station. Finally, this is the end of my short journey on Moldova. I hope you enjoy your time here and have a safe trip. La vedere!